My husband Michael and I had our first date at the movie theater. Now, what I didn't know at the time when I asked him, and yes, I was the one who asked him, was that going to the movies was his absolutely favorite thing in the world to do. He probably would have gone with just about anyone. But there we are sitting in the movie theater in the dark, and apparently, and I don't even remember this happening, I reached over and squeezed his knee. And it was only in that moment that he realized that, hey, she's interested in me. Now, when he told me this story sometime later, I just couldn't believe like he could miss this. How could he have possibly missed it? How could he have possibly not known that this was a date, that I was interested in him, and not only miss that fact, but miss all the signs leading up to that moment? And I would say that men miss these signs of interest all the time. Now, women are easily able to pick up these subtle clues and hints because we are used to giving them out. And there are times when guys do recognize these clues, but then they kind of start second guessing themselves, where they'll think, oh, she's just being nice, or look, she's married, and so, it can't be that. And many times, if you're missing the signal the first time, you have other opportunities. Because if a woman is really interested in you, she will continue to drop those hints and drop those signals and try to make other attempts at different times or different places if you happen to run in the same circles or something of that nature. However, there are going to be times when you guys have a one opportunity here, because you are never going to see this person again and you have to shoot your shot now, or else that opportunity is going to be gone forever. And so guys, I feel like I really need to hit you upside the head with a metaphorical frying pan to help you see these signs. And that is what we're going to be doing today. We are going to go over 7 signs that she's into you. And then if you stick around to the end, I'm going to tell you one sign that men often think means she's into you, but really it's not. And before we begin, let me just tell you that these signs and signals apply to all females. Yes, all females. It doesn't matter the relationship status, if they are single, engaged, married, divorced. It does not matter if they are old, young, nor does it even matter to whatever sexual identity she proclaims herself to be, whether that is a heterosexual, a bisexual, a lesbian. It doesn't matter. Yes, unless it is your mother, your sister, or some other very close relative, this information applies to all females. If a woman is sending you these signs, and especially if there's multiple of them at the same time, then you should definitely take notes. Now, before we get started on the very first sign, I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys to subscribe. I am in a sort of a personal contest with one of the fellow YouTube channels called the Present Fathers Podcast, and it's my goal to surpass them and beat them on subscribers. So if you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button, you will help me win this personal contest I got going on with them. The first sign that you need to look for is that she physically moves to your space. She's moving towards you. She wants to be around you. Women do not move without intention on anything. So if she's moving over to you, there's a very intentional reason why. Think about this fact. If you're driving down the road and you just happen to be seeing all these buildings in the distance, and you happen to notice in one of the buildings that there's a grocery store, you pull off the road, park your car, and go into the grocery store unless you have a very specific reason to do so. No, you don't. You do not do that because there's no reason to. It would be like me as a woman stopping and going into a auto parts store just for fun. Like, there's no reason I would ever do that and be like, oh, there's an auto parts store there. Let me stop what I'm doing in my day and go and park there and go inside and just, explore. It would never happen. So as a man, you have to think like, why would a female move over from where she was over to where you are? She could have moved over to any other space. She could have moved over certainly to another female, to had a conversation with another female. Typically, we have more to talk about with each other. But no, she didn't do that. She chose to come over and talk to you instead. Why is that? So if there's multiple options within a space, multiple different people within a space, particularly if there's female options in which she could go and talk to, but she chose to single you out and come over and talk to you, that's a very good signal right there that there is an intentionality behind that movement. And this also applies to online as well. Women do not just stop scrolling or looking at whatever they're looking on online and either friend request you or drop you a message in your message box, there's always an intentionality behind it. And I'm not saying that there aren't legitimate reasons for someone to come over and talk to you that maybe have to do with business or something of that nature, but there's still an intention. Whether that intention is personal or that intention is business, there's always an intention there. Well, Monica, you might say, well, what if we already know each other and she's just coming to say hello? Well, in that case, yeah, you can't really use this as a sole indicator. You would then have to rely upon the other signs and signals, if they're there or not there, to assess the intentionality behind her doing so. And so the second sign to look for is that she lingers just a little bit longer than she actually needs to. Now, there are some valid reasons where she has come over into your space. Maybe she was just saying hello and there was nothing to it. But if you notice at that time that she says hello and then she just kind of sticks around, well, then you got to look at that. I happened to notice this behavior from one of the married women who, during our son's Little League game, she would come over to where my husband and I would sit. She would set up her camera to live stream the game. And I was like, okay, she came over, she set it up, and then she just like kind of linger around. And then she would start chatting with my husband and I. And when I say my husband and I mean like my husband. And she would just kind of hang around and laugh a little bit and, throw her hair back a little bit. And I'm just kind of like looking up at her as she's talking. A couple more games go by. And I noticed that if my husband happened to not be sitting next to me that day, because maybe he was out helping the coaches on the field or whatever, the woman never came by. Or if she came by, said hello, and then left. So as we're approaching into the season and we're going into the All-Stars, I'm noticing her and her husband and the dynamics going on there. And I'm noticing there is some thick tension there. Like you can cut that tension with a knife. And so when I got a moment, I approached him. I'm like, hey, I noticed there's some tension going on. Is everything okay? And he's like, yeah, we're getting a divorce. And so with this particular instance, I think most men would have looked at it and said, oh, she's just being nice. She's just being friendly. She's married. This means nothing. But what guys don't understand is that women contemplate divorce for months, if not years ahead of time. And this is why a lot of men feel that they have been blindsided, that they never saw it coming, and they think it's out of nowhere, and that she's just moved on magically all of a sudden. But that's not true. She's been contemplating and planning and trying to assess potentiality for months in advance. So I don't know what the case may have been with her in that situation. What I do know is that when women are going through struggles in their relationship, that they do often seek attention from other men. Unhappily married women are extremely attracted to happily married men. It's like if you go on Amazon and you look at the reviews, seeing a happily married man is like seeing a man with a 5-star review. Anyways, I don't want to go super deep into this because I do want to do a full video about this topic. But remember, a woman who lingers around you longer than she's required to is almost always a sign of interest. So let's continue on. Sign number 3 is that she touches you in any shape or form. So you have a woman who has moved into your space. She's lingered longer than is required. And now you find that she has touched you in some capacity. This is not an accident. Women guard their space very carefully. We do not want to be touched by people we don't like. So if she's touching you in any shape or form, that is intentional. So let's say that you guys are at a Christmas party. Yeah, we have Christmas coming up here. And you're all wearing your ugly sweaters. And she's like, oh, hey, I like your sweater. And like maybe touches part of it. It is one thing to say you like someone's sweater. It's another thing to touch the man wearing the sweater at the same time. So a woman who has high interest in you, she wants to touch you. By telling you she likes your shirt, it gives her the opportunity to touch you that she otherwise wouldn't have had. Another thing that might happen is that she might touch your shoulder or your hand or your knee at a movie theater. So remember, touch is almost always intentional. Next sign of interest is that she remembers your name or other small details about yourself. Now, we all know how difficult it is to remember a name. Like we'll introduce ourselves and sometimes 10 seconds pass and we're like, oh my gosh, what was their name again, right? It is normal to forget people's name. And because it's so easy to forget someone's name, you have to think about the fact if someone's not forgetting your name and remembering your name, why are they doing so? They're doing so because they have made it important inside of them to do so. So if she remembers your name 15 minutes later, an hour later, 2 days later, that's really something to take note of. Building on that, if you guys see each other again, maybe you run in the same circle or whatever the case may be, and she has remembered some small detail. Maybe you told her like where you grew up or what your favorite team was or something of that nature, and she remembers that. Come on now. Women retain information they need. They are not going to retain that information about you, your name, where you grew up, your favorite teams, your favorite foods, unless she has an intention behind why she needs that information. So let's move on. The next sign of interest is that she makes excuses to contact you, or she finds a way to keep in touch. So I was a pursuer in my relationship. I met Michael as his dental hygienist. I cleaned his teeth. So the very first day that he came into my office, he sat down in the chair and he hadn't had his teeth cleaned for like 5 years. And so he needed to have a deep cleaning. And so he's in my chair for like 3 hours. And, the first hour I'm looking at him, I'm like, no, he's kind of cute. Then as the time moved on, the second hour, I was like, oh, God, like, this guy's really cute. And then by the third hour, I was like in the full-blown smitten mode. How am I going to move that professional relationship to a more personal one? Well, I got the idea to call him later that evening to check up on his mouth. And in all fairness, a deep cleaning can be pretty intense. And I did definitely anticipate that his gums were going to be sore. So it wasn't completely off base if he got a phone call from me checking to see how he was doing. So was this a typical practice that we did at the office? No, it wasn't. This was me finding a way to keep in contact with him, finding a way to chat further with him underneath the guise of a professional context. Now, before he had left that appointment, he had also left me his business card. And it wasn't but maybe a week later that I actually got into a car accident, which gave me into another reason to contact him as he's in law enforcement. I knew he probably couldn't do anything for me, but it at least gave me the opportunity to reach out to him again. So me contacting him after his appointment, me reaching out to him after the car accident, these were all attempts made by me to keep that communication line open and to keep me in the forefront of his mind. The checking here and there, the texting, inviting you to places, needing your help, asking for your Instagram handle, dropping a business card. Doesn't matter the guise in which she is trying to keep in contact. The fact that she wants to keep in contact is a high interest sign. Once again, this is like a variation of moving into your space. So she can't physically move into your space because she's not there at that time. She's going to attempt to move into the space of your mind. And the constant contact is the way that she's going to do that. Another sign that she's interested in you is that in the course of talking to a woman, she will just magically have so much in common with you. Oh, you like sushi? Well, isn't that interesting? I love sushi too. Oh, you like watching football? What's your favorite team? Oh, it's the Raiders. Oh, the Raiders I love the Raiders. Oh, really? So you want to travel to Japan next year? I've always wanted to travel to Japan. That's been on my bucket list for so long. And you're thinking, wow, this is amazing. Here's this woman. She has all the interests like I do, and she's like this unicorn. Guys, she's not a unicorn. Women are highly malleable. You will find that whatever interest that you as a man that she is interested in have, she will magically morph and adapt to meet and also bring herself into that interest level. This is a woman who is using her imagination in real time to envision and create a future with the two of you together. So you're going to notice that she miraculously loves everything you love because she is envisioning doing these things with you. And she is ready and willing to adapt and change and be malleable for the right guy. All women will. They will adapt for the right guy. If she's highly interested in you, you will find she's suddenly very interested in everything you are. This might even extend to the point to where you start bumping into each other. Isn't this a coincidence? Maybe during the conversation, you had noted that you go to a particular gym, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh yeah, you know what? I need to sign up for a gym. Which one do you go to? Oh, do you like it? Oh, okay, maybe I'll go and sign up there. This was not an accident. Was she looking for a gym? Maybe. But the fact that she happened to sign up at the exact same gym of you, and she might live 30 minutes away, she's not going to tell you that fact. Or maybe during the conversation, you might have said that you're in the midst of marathon training. And she might say, oh, I just started a running program too. What shoes do you like? Oh, well, maybe we can go running together. So what she's trying to do is incorporate herself into the things that you're already doing. And this is especially true if this hobby or thing that you're doing is much more of a male-centric type of hobby. For instance, you're a big fisherman and she's like, oh yeah, I like to fish. She would be willing to go fishing with you, but it's not something that she would ever do or pursue on her own. Always remember, it's not likely that you've actually found a unicorn. What's actually happening here is that she is adapting herself to you, to incorporate herself into your world, to envision a future of the two of you together. But don't be surprised after seeing each other for a little bit if those interests go away, because they were never her true interests to begin with. Seventh sign that she's into you is that her eyes are constantly tracking you. So let's go back to the Christmas party example. Maybe she has already come up, she's giving you a couple signs, and then you guys go off your separate ways and talk to other people. I want you to pay attention to, does she constantly track where you are? And this can sometimes be really tough to catch because you don't want to be staring at her to see if she's staring at you, because honestly, then she'll probably just look away real quick anyway. But how you do this is, if she knows where you're at a party, when she's not looking, quickly move to a different area where you could still keep eye on what she's doing, and see if the next time she looks up in the direction of where you were, she sees that you're gone and then looks around to try to find you again. Because a woman who is interested in you, she cannot help but continue to look at you, even if it's just for a split second. She wants to know where you are, and she's going to be keeping track and tabs on you the entire time. Now let's go on to the one thing I told you at the beginning of the video that many people will take as a sign of interest, but it's probably not. And that is the hair twirling. The hair twirling, the hair adjustment, anything of that nature. Now, many people believe that the hair twirling is a sign of interest, and it can be, but it's a very weak signal. So that is why I have to say you can't trust it. The reason I say this is the people who are constant hair twirlers, I am twirling my hair 90% of the time. My husband knows it doesn't mean anything. However, one time we were at an award ceremony for his squad. This was years ago when we were first dating. And I was sitting next to his mom. And she later told Michael that she was noticing that I was looking at one of the guys and twirling my hair. She took this as a sign that I would be interested in somebody else that wasn't her son. He knew that I twirl my hair 90% of the time, and it didn't mean anything. So certainly if you see a girl twirling her hair, you can't really go off of the fact that it means anything. Use the 7 signs we discussed here today to get a far better grasp of her interest into you. So let's go ahead and wrap this all up. Today, I gave you 7 signs that she's into you. The more of these signs that are present at the same time, the more assured you can be that they actually really do mean she is super into you. Always remember, women are very intentional with their behavior. They do not enter your space without reason. They do not contact you without reason. If she is asking for help, if she is asking for you to come over or inviting you to do something with her, if she is bumping into you miraculously, if she all of a sudden develops all these interests that you already have just in passing, it's just in your face, guys. Move forward with confidence, make the move, and give yourself more opportunity to have relationships. All right, expect some of you to take this information and go make some moves. We'll see you next time.